Hello everybody, it's VerticalSandwich. Welcome to another book review. So, this week we are doing This Immortal by Roger Zelazny. And if you remember, we've already done a Zelazny novel. We did Lord of Light, which I ranted and raved about and thought was amazing. That's not going to happen with This Immortal. So, in its serialized version, the story that made this novel was called Call Me Conrad. But when it was novelized, novelization is a word, so novelized should be the word for that, right? So when it was novelized, it was changed to This Immortal. And this tied for the Hugo Award for Best Novel in 1966 with Dune. And let me tell you, Dune buries this book in an unmarked grave. Dune is so much better than this book. Like, Dune is amazing. Dune is an amazing epic story. And this, meh. That's going to be my overarching kind of thing for this. So, like Lord of Light, the character in this book is an incredibly capable character. Apparently, Wikipedia has told me that the term for them is overmen. Characters who are godlike. And here's the thing about overmen. I'm learning. I don't like them. I don't like characters who I know are going to succeed because they're amazing at everything. I find that boring. I find it dramatically boring, which, by the way, and just go ahead and let it in the comments right now because we're going to talk about that when we talk about Ender's Game, and I know that Ender's Game has amazing fans, unbelievable fans. Now, here's the thing. I have good things to say. I mean, we're not talking about Ender's Game, but I had, because of this list, I read it and its sequel, and I have nothing but good things to say about its sequel. So at least there's that. And I haven't read the last two books in the series, although I own them. I bought them as a set. So I did like the series, but anyway. So if you want a book where you know that nothing bad is going to happen to the main character because he's just great at everything, like absolutely everything, like from Greco-Roman wrestling up to like starship navigation and like the use of every weapon known to man, then this is the book for you, I guess. Now, instead of doing like the Hindu pantheon of gods, the Greek pantheon of gods is used in this book. So let's read the back cover. Conrad Nomikos has a long, rich personal history that he'd rather not talk about, and as arts commissioner, he's been given a job he'd rather not do. Escorting an alien grandee on a guided tour of the shattered remains of Earth is not something he relishes, especially when it is apparent that this places him at the center of high-level intrigue that has some bearing on the future of Earth itself. So, in this book, Earth has been abandoned, there's been nuclear wars, there are hot spots from the nuclear war, there are mutations, and the things that have mutated have like, there are centaurs and things like that because, reasons? Because Greek pantheon of gods, I guess. So, let's just read a little bit, and we can get a taste of Roger Zelazny's narrative style. The days that followed were ashes, and the nights were iron. The spirit that had been torn from my soul was buried deeper than any mummy that lay moldering beneath those sands. It is said that the dead forget the dead in the house of Hades. Cassandra, but I hope it was not so. I went through the motions of conducting a tour, and Laurel suggested that I appoint someone else to finish it, and take a leave of absence myself. I couldn't. What would I do then? Sit and brood in some old place, cadging drinks from unwary travelers? No. Some kind of motion is always essential at such times. Its forms eventually generate a content for their empty insides. So I went on with the tour and turned my attention to the small mysteries it contained. Took Rollum apart and studied his governor. It had been broken, of course, which meant that either I had done it during the early stages of our conflict, or Hassan had done it as he had souped him up to take the fight out of me. If Hassan had done it, then he did not just want me beaten, but dead. If such was the case, then the question was, why? So, people are trying to kill this guy. Now, the premise of the story is that this guy is the arts commissioner of kind of Earth, and he takes people on these tours, and, well, he doesn't take people on these tours. He's like the preservationist of Earth. He runs a bureau on this kind of long-abandoned planet. I mean, there's still people on Earth, just not a lot of them. And he's married, he's newly married, he's kind of living this idyllic life, and they pull him aside and say, listen, you have to take this alien on this tour of the planet. And while he's doing this, stuff is going on. He thinks somebody is trying to kill him. Nobody knows what's going on with this alien. And people are starting to figure out that he is far older than he lets on. That he tells his wife that he's like twice her age, but he's actually, he actually may be ancient right now. Like, this is in the far future, and it seems like he may be immortal. Although that's never kind of precisely said. Now, this book, I mean, if you want to learn more about the Greek pantheon of gods and kind of the culturally Greek things, Zelazny's a good writer. Zelazny's pacing is good. This book is mercifully short. 170 pages. And if you look at how the pages are laid out, I mean, I hate margins that size. The guy who works in printing in me really bothers. Oh, by the way, I work in printing. So, yeah, I didn't love this Immortal. I mean, I read it, and it was, it's very dated. Lord of Light's seems very fresh and very kind of timeless. This does not. This sounds like very dated sci-fi. It reads like a screenplay for like a 60s science fiction show. Like, this trip to Earth could be an episode of Star Trek. Like, that's kind of how it reads. And you go, oh, okay. So, dated sci-fi, I didn't love this. I just didn't love it. If you're obsessive like me and you're reading every book on a list, regardless of how good it is, then you have to read this because it's on the list. Otherwise, I think you can take a pass. Like I said, I didn't love this. I didn't think at any point in time that there was no point in time where I found the things that were going on incredibly interesting. Like, even taking all of the drama out of it, like knowing that you have a narrator who is this great immortal overman, reading about his travels, I did not find them interesting. And I guess that's the crime here, right? Is that if what you're going to do is you're going to take out every sense of kind of conflict, then what you have to have is interesting adventure, which can be done. I mean, science fiction books have done that, have made, adventure very interesting. Whereas this didn't manage to do it for me. So I did learn I did learn a bit about the kind of about Greek gods and Greek culture by checking out the references in this book. But at this point, like at the point, the book was kind of intolerable to me. Not intolerable, but boring to me. That felt like added boringness. Like, ugh, why am I looking up? Like, why am I looking up Cassandra? Like, when I'm just trying to read this book. So, I didn't love it. I wouldn't recommend this. It is available wherever fine books are sold. You can get this copy. There are apparently several different copies because it's gone through various incarnations as a novel. So it won the Hugo and the Nebula award, which is crazy to me. It is crazy to me, but it was a different time then. This was 50 years ago, and sci-fi looked different. These kind of this is a well-written, kind of lighthearted story in its essence, and that kind of ruled the school in a lot of ways with magazine publishing. So when we talk about Asimov, we're going to talk about a lot of that. A lot of Asimov stuff is very light and kind of airy, and that's fine. It's enjoyable. My problem with this is that it's light and airy, and I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. So you might, but I doubt it. It's definitely, it hasn't aged well. So, not taking anything away from Zelazny. Zelazny's perfectly capable of writing amazing stuff. Lord of Light is unbelievably good. So, instead of reading this, maybe read Lord of Light again. Or read Fire and Ice or something. I don't know. I haven't read it, but I own it. So it's on my. It's after the Hugo Award winners. I'll probably check it out because I want to read more Zelazny stuff. Zelazny's a great author. This just falls short for me. So that's my book review of this. This is the first bad book review, and I will see you next time for one of these 3 books that's sitting alongside of me, and they all should be pretty good, I think. So I'll see you guys for that. Bye, everybody.